Hello and welcome to Mandibil. I was not actually planning on going on a trip today, but since I actually need to for some, business stuff, Nebengeschäft business stuff, I thought I might do a little thing on religion. And I was re-listening to some of my old deconstruction of Stefan Molyneux's book, The Art of the Argument, and I came across a section where as I linked up on my Discord server, there's a little rant on religion there, but there's a lot of stuff you can talk about when it comes to religion, and in my opinion, it's a five-headed monster, this religion thing, right? There's so much packed into it. Just like if you want to discuss what government is, it's sort of in the same ball game as trying to describe what religion is, right? There is some core to it, but there's a lot of aspects to it still, right? You might be able to sort of pinpoint a specific core where I usually call it child abuse, which I think is basically the most core problem with religion, which is you learn to understand how be told how things are by being threatened into this sort of death cult, which it basically is, right? It's a cult of the death of Jesus, this sort of distorted picture of some sandal warrior prophet crazy guy in the Middle East, right? 2,000 years ago or so. So it has become, oh, that wasn't on purpose. Luckily nobody was there. He's crazy. So I fairly recently got a new car. I have to, the old car, the horn section was a different, somehow the wheel was large or something like that, right? So I've had to get used to not pressing the horn, right? Okay. But in this sense, with religion, there's some core stuff in it that I need to sort of elaborate on what I mean, right? I would say that religion is still there despite all the advancements in science or potentially in philosophy, right? Because women want it. Women want religion. I mean, I'm not saying all women want it, but in general, it has survived because of women. If women didn't want it to survive, it wouldn't survive, right? I mean, everything that happens in the world happens because of women, not directly, but indirectly through men, right? Men please women in order to get between their legs, right? It's sort of, if you ignore that, you're willfully ignoring how the dynamics between the sexes work, right? Men want to please women in order to hook up, however you want to put it, right? And in the olden days, it was still sort of the men had something to say, because women had to push men in front of them so that it didn't look like it was actually women controlling things, right? But that entailed that they would be sort of dominated as a side effect, which is sort of mostly women don't mind being dominated. Most women nowadays are being dominated by their government, right? So women don't mind being dominated. For them, it's apparently a sign of being taken care of, and if they need to be slapped in the face now and then, well, then they will accept that, right? Sort of quote, you know what I mean, right? So if women didn't want something, right, like religion, it wouldn't be here, because then they will make men avoid religion in order to get to women, right? So women and mothers, they want religion because it is some kind of social control. And women tend to want social control in order to feel somewhere or another protected, right? And if you can control men using some kind of control, no matter what that may be, for instance, religion, right? Then they will use that, whatever tool they can get to use to control socially, right? So they can. It's sort of religion in a large extent is matriarchal, even though it looks like it's men doing the stuff. Women are sitting behind the curtain, controlling their husbands and so on, right? The social sphere. Not always, but to a very, very large extent, right? That's why they're religion, because it makes women. It gives women a certain kind of control that they want. Now, the government has been competing for this kind of control, right? And have been largely successful. And now women are surging to the government instead, right? So they're rejecting religion, but then they want some different kind of social control, right? So they are sort of, okay, who has the power? Okay, it's the government, so I don't need the religion. Now it's government, right? So I would say women are the reason why there is religion. I would stand by that any day, right? Okay, so that means that children are usually very, very influenced by their mothers, right? And if mothers want religion, they are going to inflict that religion on their children in order for them to stay and make sure they don't rock the boat or get out of this system, right? So they have to be manipulated some way or another from they are very small with all sorts of weird, moral, unphilosophical stuff, right? That's why I'm, as a philosophically minded person, which is the only way to think, coherently, right? That I fucking hate religion because it's a mind control of children who are not fully developed in order to figure out what the hell their parents are doing to them, right? And I know that there are grown-up people who have never been inflicted very much with religion, suddenly find themselves, Bob Dylan going, Christian in the late 1970s, being sort of a, I don't know what kind of anarchist before that, right? But it's like, okay, all of a sudden I find Jesus, right? I don't know about that. It's sort of a midlife crisis of some kind. I don't know, right? Those are not the people. There are always exceptions, one way or another, right? Those are not the ones I'm looking for. But they wouldn't go to that religion unless that religion has been ingrained somehow in the whole system. And that's where these women and mothers come in, right? Because if those mothers were rejecting religion, they wouldn't find husbands who were prone to being religious, right? Or accepting religion, whatever. So they want it because it's a control mechanism. So that's why I'm saying, in order for their children not to grow up to become independent thinkers, philosophers and such, right? They want to manipulate their children into becoming religious and thereby supporting the system of religion / government, whatever, all these kind of social controls, right? All this is pandering to women. There's no wonder that I recently saw just as a side note, I recently saw a documentary about a Russian artist from about 100 years ago in the Soviet Union, who lived down in Uzbekistan, which is all the way over in Central Asia, somewhere on the steppes over there, right? Who was an artist and then in his later years started to collect these artistical works, which were for some weird, incredible reason weren't supported by the communist government, because it wasn't, hard-working, staunch workers crazy about government, but it was more like expressionist art, right? So they were sort of hunted down, and they kept all their art hidden away, right? And he helped dig it out of these old storages and preserve them and create a museum down somewhere in Uzbekistan. And I don't remember the details exactly, but the point is, what was I going for? I forgot my train of thought. There was some clips of how women were liberated when the Bolsheviks came, right? It was, you are now liberal, you don't have to wear your scarf anymore, the patriarchy has been lifted, now you can go out and be a working woman and be independent, right? It's an appeal to women. These kinds of social controls are always appealing to women, because they are the control mechanism for the state to get power over men, right? Those psychopaths in the state, they need control of men, and they get that through women, and that's why we have that huge welfare state now, right? Men thinking that, okay, let's just give women a little more and then they'll be satisfied, right? No, then they'll just keep shit testing you until forever, right? Women will never have enough. Then the sky is the limit for women, right? And that maybe not even be a limit, right? So if they, go away from the Christian matriarchy to the government matriarchy instead, right? So it's all, and as I pointed out in that bit from the Art of the Argument deconstruction, which I put up on the Discord recently, right? Why was it the Catholic Russia that became communist, right? Why was it the Catholic Italy that became fascistic, right? Why was it the Catholic Spain that became fascistic, right? Why was it the Protestant Catholic Germany that became fascistic, right? There's just something that is it's a fertile ground for totalitarianism when they're deeply religious, right? You see that also in, Iran, Iraq, all these with fundamentalist religious people, right? It's sort of totalitarian. God is totalitarian. If there's some idea that is totalitarian, it is that there is a God creating everything, controlling everything, knowing everything, being eternally good, never evil, whatever, right? It's like it's the ultimate power figure, right? And when the government aligns itself with that power figure, it's like, it's just a manifestation on God on earth or something like that. It just falls into the right folds of the minds of these people. So they adhere to this dictator, right? It's basically a real life Bible of some kind of God figure, right? I'm not saying that they consider their master, their politician, their prime minister, prime murderer, right, as a god, but it has the same. It's the same kind of fear and bow-dowing stuff as with the god, right? They're always kneeling down and pretending to be subservient, and it's not, I'm above the God. God can tell me something, but I'm the master of my life. No. It's the God that is the master, right? And you're the little subservient peon, right? Being ordered around by this, sky ghost, right? And basically from a philosophical standpoint, right? There is nothing philosophical in the Bible. Yeah, you could maybe say that there are some certain passages here that had a connotation of some kind of, whatever, right? But it's all commandments in a sense, right? Now, I admit I haven't read the Bible. I'm not going to. I have no interest in it, right? But if it condenses into the 10 Commandments, which are basically bullshit, right? these are just commandments. They're not philosophy, right? It's not working from first principles or a reduction base or metaphysics or anything like that. It's all these fairy tales about this sky ghost creating the world and talking to himself and whatever, right? So, and people are, if that story is connected with mommy wanting me to be religious, and maybe mommy will throw me out on the street and not, accept me if I don't adhere to this bullshit, then they will defend this bullshit forever in order not to lose mommy, right? There's so much destruction in the world because of mommy, right? Don't underestimate the power of mommy, right? Darth Vader should actually be Dark Mommy, perhaps, right? The Dark Father is the masculine echo of the matriarchal control, dark control, right? And maybe that's why he's hidden by this mask. And it's almost like you could see it would be interesting if it was a woman when he took the helmet off Darth Vader. In fact, I always wanted Darth Vader not to be revealed. And that's why he has this artificial voice, because he is really a woman, right? He's not a man. That's why he has this dark clothes and Nazi helmet and artificial voice and so on, right? That's because it's really a woman inside controlling everybody. But you have to understand it as a man, and men are toxic and evil and whatever, right? It's women controlling the world. The hand who rocks the cradle, right, controls the world. So I have no patience with, and certainly not people talking about philosophy and, usually idealism, which has, I've turned to idealism in the recent 4 or 5 years. And, I have been mingling, let's say, or come in some kind of contact with more, with some religious people on that account, because they are usually idealists. Because that leaves a space for God, right? Just like Bernardo Castro, it says, oh yeah, the big mind outside, right? The mind at large. We are just little subsections of this big mind, which is sort of, if you want to call it God, you can call it God, right? I mean, that triggers me a lot, right? It's so sophist, right? And by the way, his mommy was Brazilian Catholic, right? And his father was a Danish, interestingly, scientist, right? A match made in hell. She better be good looking, right? Don't stick your dick in crazy. I warn you, right? Be that religious or government. And that leaves a very, very few women left that you can actually stick your dick in, right? So leave some comments. Tell me what you think about what I just said. Do you consider yourself Christian, and why? And be honest, right? All these people talking about philosophical stuff is a sophist way of blue stamping religion using philosophy, right? So yeah, but I can argue in a philosophical way and end up with a God is actually where I want to go, right? They're just connecting the dots that they want them to be connected, right? So, share, like, and subscribe. Check out the Discord server, link below. Leave a comment. Otherwise, have a nice day. See you next time.